title of our session is related to the antifragility approach, that it's a sort of tentative approach to try to figure out how is it possible that the metropolitan city is not only a challenge for the citizen, but can become also the solution of our territorial problem. We would like to present an initiative that Politecnico di Milano and the Competence Center of the Dipartimento di Architettura e Studi Urbani and UN Habitat is trying to figure out. It's an initiative that tries to define tools and a strategy to be able to transform our metropolitan region in something that is much more, not only resilience, but not fragile, to try to face the nowadays climate change risk. We used to speak about metropolis, not the metropolis of the last century, but the new metropolis, that is a second modernity metropolis, and Istanbul is perfect to represent this issue. And we would like to present the metropolis not only as a value, but as a resources for the state and for the municipality. Our aim is to define possible future changes for quality of life. Quality of life of the citizen at a local scale is our aim and goal. And we would like to think how the fragility itself, the uncertainty in which we live, is the place from which we can catch also some seed for the solution. So our goal is to anticipate the societal transformation, understand how this social transformation could impact the sustainable development goals. We are in a moment in which we have to territorialize, localize the sustainable development goals, and we would like to identify tools toward an anti-fragility approach for a de-risk condition. We think that this frame can also produce to develop a revolutionary potential over the next 10, 20 years. So we try to build future, studying the future. That is not only something that we can figure out through statistical data, but try to imagine what will happen, and we have to be ready. So I would like to leave the floor to Valeria Fedeli from Politecnico di Milano and Rafael Forero from UN Habitat. If you would like to start, the main question for Valeria Fedeli is how can metropolitan governance foster anti-fragility by envisioning and experimenting with the co-production of knowledge and design processes with public administration? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonella. Can you hear me? Does it work? Yes, thank you very much. And also, from my side, just a question, can you also upload the presentation so that I can show some slides? In the meantime, I really thank the organization of the Marmara Forum for welcoming this idea of a panel organized by Antonella, Contin, which I really thank for taking the initiative to bring us all on the scene and discuss together a concept that was anticipated this morning in the plenary session, and I'm very happy about that, the concept of anti-fragility. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this concept. We as university and other association and people that work with and within public administration are getting more familiar with this concept. That, of course, is not just a way to replace the idea of resilience, but a way to, let's say, go beyond, as it is in our title. I'm here because under this general framework, I'm coordinating a research project. It's not actually a research project. It's a sort of platform for research, rising excellence in our university, that is dedicated to anti-fragility. We have been working for several years on the idea that people and places are getting more fragile. And now, in this new phase, we are working on the idea that we can support institutions being not just less fragile, but anti-fragile. I'm coming from a Department of Architecture and Urban Studies, technical university, devoted to design, planning, and these kind of things. And of course, we look at this big challenge from a specific point of view. That is the point of view of design. How can design help? And so what we are doing, if I manage to make it work, is basically that, because I see it here. It's not so relevant, I can speak also without, but thank you. What we are doing is trying to understand, thank you very much for your help, if there is any way, from the design point of view, we can help developing this concept with public administration. This was, the previous slide was the cover of the book dedicated to anti-fragility concept by this philosopher, Nassim Taleb. And you can read here this definition: anti-fragility is beyond resilience. Don't know what happens. The resilient resists shocks and stays the same. The anti-fragile gets better. We want to understand how we can help institutions stay in this mood and help people and places to thrive and grow when they are exposed to disorder, chaos, uncertainty, fragmentation. And you understand this is very complicated, because from the design point of view, we think that we can design everything, and our plans and projects and design is the solution forever. So as planners and designers, we think we have a solution that can fix a problem. But under conditions of uncertainty, so institutions need to understand which are the limitations, which are the limits that design can go through, and how their projects and decisions can or not support people and places in developing the conditions to be less fragile and anti-fragile, be better despite uncertainty. So we have this competence center that we are developing together with public administration in Italy and for public administration in Italy that exactly wants to understand how we can help from our specific focus. We know that institutions are fragile objects because sometimes they are out of focus, they cannot manage with challenges that are always changing and reframing. They have no accountability or legitimacy. They have their intrinsic vulnerability. They do not have resources, people, competencies, and they always have to run after. But this is not enough. They are not just fragile. Sometimes institutions can be fragilizers, can produce fragilization because they decide and design in a way that add complexity, uncertainty, and rules that block people and places to recover from fragility. So basically, we are trying to define why and when institutions are fragilized. And so here you can see a list when they produce policies and plans that are based on short term, too much details, do not take seriously into consideration place space and subsidiarity, do not consider relational and inter-scalar idea of governance. They apply a linear model, design and implementation, that's it, and invest in prescriptions rather than working on future prospects. I'm sure you are familiar with this issue, and they were raised also this morning. But what does it mean when it comes to understanding how to go beyond resilience? The issue is for us to understand that territorializing resilience means not just scaling down, but understanding the role of places. And also understanding the impact of scales. A very important statement I would like to introduce is that sometimes scale matters and space matters in producing fragility, and could be, on the contrary, elements for building anti-fragility. And I say with an example, and then we'll try to speed up. The city is changing. There is a new scale of the city. This is producing inequalities, new elements of fragilization. But we do not have institutions that are able to cope with that, and this is an additional layer for fragilization. because we do not have very strong metropolitan kind of partnership, alliances, governance that can help addressing these challenges. So there is a scalar factor that we want to focus upon, in particular in our competence center, and this scalar factor, I think, is also crucial to the MetroHub challenges and objectives. Metropolis matter, the metropolitan dimension matters. If we do not have a metropolitan vision and understanding, if we do not have a kind of metropolitan governance and understanding of what is happening, maybe we are even more fragile. So this is the field in which we are meeting with UN Habitat. Because on the one hand, we are building a competence center that wants to be an open forum, a place where people meet and discuss these issues, where we incubate with local actors, public administration, in particular pilot projects based on anti-fragility. And we also want to develop a platform for advanced training that work with peer-to-peer with public administration and understand the challenges and solutions for relevant knowledge exchange. And these, I think, are shared elements for UN Habitat initiative MetroHub centers. As you can see from this slide, that is my last slide, also in this meeting with MetroHub and UN Habitat, we have understood there is a lot of space for usable knowledge co-production that can work on this issue of metropolitan scale and territorial fragility. But also there is need of solutions, and we don't want just to give solutions that can fit with all the problems. We want a specific attention to deliver and develop and deliver a metropolitan attention to metropolitan scale of solution and governance approaches that can territorialize resilience, not just top-down, but place-based and forward-looking. And finally, advanced training, I think it's in our aims. And on this base, we are working on the construction of this MetroHub, and I think there is much scope for both to develop in that direction. And I close with this graph that I love very much. It's from a Netherlands, Dutch university center that basically says that there are many innovation, traces of innovation everywhere. But if we are not able to move those innovations towards transition, they just remain locally based. Maybe they solve solution, they give solutions sometimes locally, but they are not able to make a change. And I think we have the interaction with these local initiatives and the MetroHub lever and UN Habitat support, we all want to go in that direction. The metropolitan solutions are not just local. Maybe they work in Barcelona, Paris, or Milan, but they can be a field for innovation that can lead society where it should go in order to be sustainable and to be able to address the challenges of today's world. So with this as a general framework and umbrella and engagement from Politecnico with UN Habitat, I leave also the floor to Antonella for giving a question.
Thank you, Valeria. If you have some question, if you look in the web page of the MARUF23, in our web page where we have our event, there is a possibility to send us some questions. So at the end we can answer to your question due to the fact that we will not have the time to answer here to all your questions, but please try to send us your impression, suggestion, and question using the website of the Congress. So I leave the floor to Rafael Forero from UN Habitat, and I really would like to understand, it's quite interesting what Valeria said regarding the fact that sometimes institutions can fragilize our territory, and we would like to understand how this anti-fragility approach could strengthen effective local and metropolitan multi-level governance for advancing the sustainable development goals. So how is it possible to find a strategy that helps us to localize SDGs, and if is it true that the metropolitan level is the level where the system works and help us to connect together all the issues? Rafa, the floor is for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonella. Thank you, Valeria, all the Milano Politecnico's team for leading this discussion and also for help us to UN Habitat to really implement and to really comply with these agendas and with this new mandate that United Nations member states are constantly giving us. No? And first, Antonella, I would like to refer to both things. No? First, the approach by itself, the anti-fragility approach, and second, to the tool, which is the Metro Hub Center that we are designing and setting up. Also, I think that for the participants, it's important to know that these questions that you are doing are framed on a new mandate that we just received from the United Nations member state in Nairobi last June, when the United Nations Habitat Assembly met, and specifically asked to the UN Habitat technical teams to support this metropolitan governance, this more intersectorial collaboration, but also multi-level and multi-partnership arrangement, no, around the world. And this is, of course, because we realized that the world is in a continuous transformation. No? Valeria referred to this before. Also, during the opening of the MARUF, we heard something about that the new reality of cities, the new reality of territory overcome the very local boundaries, the very local jurisdiction, the municipal dynamics, and now the challenges, the dynamics, the management practice that we need to implement are metropolitan, no? Are supra-municipal, or even in the case of Marmara, are supra-metropolitan to becoming regional, no? But in a concrete direction, how this anti-fragility approach can national government to implement all of these new approaches, all of these new practices, projects, and innovation that we need? I think that the reply is very simple. National governments and other level of governments need the anti-fragility approach to put SDGs back on track. Just 2 weeks ago, during the United Nations General Assembly in New York, we heard that only the 12% of the measurable SDGs are on track in this moment. If we continue to this path, we will not achieve SDGs, we will not achieve 2030 agenda at all. We will not achieve neither the climate agenda, nor the new urban agenda, nor all the international commitments that we have been advancing during the last decade. So what does that mean? Not comply with global goals. What it really means? It means more people suffering in all parts of the world. We see it, we see it daily, of course, climate catastrophes, big migration dynamics, declining of democracy, global hunger, socioeconomical disparities. We see all of this daily around the world, and don't comply with the global goals, with the SDGs, means increasing all these challenges. No? So what we need to do? We need to work in two directions, mainly at the General Assembly of the United Nations was also clear on this. We need to work on international financing, on sustainable development, and we need to do in policy and project efficiency. In other words, we need to do more with less resources, no? And that is, where is the anti-fragility approach role playing in all of this? Well, anti-fragility, as we heard during the opening of the forum, help us first to accept that we don't know everything, that we don't have all the solutions, and that we need to continue learning both from the public, but also from the private sector, and even from the society. No? We need to really embrace a continuous learning process. No? Mostly of the reforms that we need to improve international financiation for sustainable development pass through reforms to the national legal governance and policy framework. So this anti-fragility approach also helps us to be more open. As we heard from the Vice President of the Marmara regions, we really need open systems. No? Anti-fragility helps us to be more open and to be more flexible. Be more flexible from the national level to implement reforms, to adapt quickly to the change, to practically implement solutions while the challenges and while the projects are still ongoing. No, I think that this is the more added value that we see in this approach. We really think that, of course, national governments, but also regional and local governments, and we ourselves in the United Nations, in the international community, also need to enhance capacities, and anti-fragility also help us to realize that we have infinite problems but limited capacities, no? And the Metro Hub, but I will leave this for the second round, but just to introduce the Metro Hub, we see the Metro Hub Center as the way to enhance those capacities to implement those new approaches, no? And to cope with uncertainty and with the very urgent and pressing sustainable development challenges.
Thank you very much also to stay into the time. Remember your questions, suggestion, anxiety, and send us your point of view. Hatice Kurşuncu, sorry for the horrible pronounce, Planning Agency of Istanbul. Support people and places, Valeria said. Why and when? Rafa Forero told us about the time, the speed time, and Istanbul has to face incredible problem, natural hazard, earthquake. So how is it possible that a planning agency can face all these issues in time, and which kind of support for people and places? And do you think that the anti-fragility approach can allow you to put in place new strategy for that? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will talk about the fragility vision we use in our works in Istanbul Planning Agency, and how we are looking to the strategies and the anti-fragility solutions we use. First of all, we are facing lots of problems in our daily lives and in our cities, and we know that the cities are, especially metropolitan areas, are really fragile places we live. But we have to see that these are not short-term issues, not short-term problems we are living in. When we take a look at the crisis we are living, we can see easily that their roots and causes are the problems we know for a long time. So because of these, we are using the term crisis to describe the century we are living in. We are living in a crisis century. So if you are looking from this perspective, then we have to say that we will witness multiple crises in our lives in the future. So we have to be ready for all of the crises we will see. So the effects and consequences of this crisis will be most striking in large metropolises like Istanbul. So these issues we identify are related to each other. We have to get ready to deal with the challenges, all of them, and at the same time. So we are using this realistic approach in our works in Istanbul Planning Agency. Like Vision 2050 strategic plan we are working on, and the disaster and risk reduction processes, and so on. In this approach, we have defined 5 crisis areas to challenge with. These are governance and democracy, economy and development, ecology and environment, social welfare and justice, and built environment. So the crises that we have described are also multi-scaled and multi-layered. So challenges and struggles should be in multi-scaled and multi-layered too. Some problems can't be solved only by local governments. There has to be national and local governments collaboration, and also collaboration with NGOs, city diplomacy in the case of disaster like earthquakes we live, and the climate change as well. So we can give an example to the multiple and relational crises through the climate change. The climate change and ecological crisis are the results of the political choices we make. The climate crisis remains unresolved due to lack of ineffective decision making at both global or local levels. The problems is an indicator of a multi-layered political problem. And similarly, important causes of the climate crisis originates from economic growth also. It is also predicted that climate change will disrupt the local production balance and cause economic crisis, so it will affect local and global economy also. And the most important factor in the transformation of natural events into disasters that we live in is urbanization crisis. So overpopulation, insufficient planning processes, or unplanned development at the cities contribute to hazards. If it continues, climate imbalances will cause disasters, great disasters in the cities, like especially in metropolises. So, and the biggest impact is all these crises emerge is in the social field. We know the climate crisis will deepen social inequalities significantly. Social inequalities are gradually deepening due to the other crisis areas mentioned before. So the most current example of this problem is the migration crisis, we know. And as we said, if we are going to challenge the climate crisis, we must also challenge it in all other issues as well. So after giving the perspective of resilience we are using in the works of our in Istanbul Planning Agency, I want to introduce to you this, shortly the works we are doing in agency. Istanbul Vision 2050 strategic plan is the major plan area we are working on. Right now. This plan is a long-term, comprehensive, participatory strategic plan. We are starting from today while targeting the year 2050. So we have finished the first phase of it, and it contains the vision, strategic goals and objectives, as all strategic plans have. In both 5 crisis areas we study on. And the second phase we are in the action plan phase. So the phase is target-oriented, and we are working on the actions and projects to execute. We are also working on coordinating the disaster and risk reduction processes in the area of earthquakes. So we established the Earthquake Scientific Committee in February after the earthquakes we have lived, to make an academic contribution to the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality's works. And Istanbul Planning Agency's responsibility is to provide the coordination of the municipality with the committee. And one of the outcomes of the scientific committee's work is we are right now working on is disaster resilient neighborhood organization model. We are working on it. It's a bottom-up model for the neighborhoods to be ready for the disasters we will have in Istanbul. So making the built environment and infrastructure resilient against disasters is a important and necessity, but just as important and perhaps more urgent than this is to strengthen and provide support to local organizations to be ready to the disasters, especially about earthquakes in Istanbul. So it's especially participation and democracy. It's on participation and democracy, but also it's a resilience program model we are working on. It is, and I think, do I have a little time? If we have, I want to briefly inform you about the other issues we are working on in Istanbul Planning Agency about resilience and de-risking. Increasing public and open spaces for emergency master areas and also for daily use. Enhancing logistics and food supply at both macro and micro scales for disaster resilience. Addressing discrimination in disaster scenarios for women, LGBTQ communities, disabled ones, elderly, and migrants. And focusing on health-related issues to disaster response. And I want to say at last, our resilience approach includes a holistic strategy to tackle interconnected challenges in metropolitan areas like Istanbul in the face of ongoing and potential crisis. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, Oriol, around from Barcelona, area metropolitana di Barcelona. A few months ago, in Barcelona, it was signed the Barcelona Declaration, in which we try to define principle, description, trying to define metropolitan solutions. So we are in a phase in which we have to jump from the theory to the real solution, so how to face these 5 areas of crisis. But Valeria told us that we have to implement solution, and in particular, she reminded us that if we don't connect innovation and transition, and in Europe we are dealing with a twin transition, green and digital, that can produce a divide in our Mediterranean area, it's a problem, because it seems that the high culture is digital and the low culture is our metropolitan and Marmara knowledge. So how is it possible to face the transition, to innovate solution, and can you remind us the Barcelona Declaration, so which kind of solution do you think that can localize, territorialize the principle of sustainability according to the Sustainable Development Goal and New Urban Agenda? Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me very well? So thank you. Thank you, Antonella, for your invitation, and thank you, Marmara Forum, for this exceptional and great event. I speak on behalf of the Barcelona metropolitan area, which is a metropolis made up by 36 municipalities. And I would like to send you a key message. The metropolitan level is the best territorial level to face the main challenge of the global agendas. And this is normal saying by me, but I think that it's true, and it's an important message to try to achieve the goals of the new urban agenda and Agenda 2030. We have different local municipalities. In the case of Barcelona, 36, in the case of Paris region, I don't know, but more than 10, obviously. 1,000. So this is I think that this is the challenge for the metropolitan areas. How can we make possible the collaboration, the coordination between different levels of the administration, not only at the same level, but bottom up and top down. So the challenge expressed in the global agendas, Antonella said before, are the digital transition and the green transition. And this is not easy to achieve. This is collide with economic model, with economic system, and we have make possible how can we maintain not only the jobs, but no one will be left behind. And in a territory normally fragmented, broken, and limited by different borders of the different municipalities, and normally with strict frameworks, legal frameworks from the national government. So it's a very huge challenge, and I don't know if we can reach for the 2030. I mean that we can make it possible that no one left behind, but we cannot stay at the same point now. And we get together in an expert group meeting in Barcelona the last year, what we call the Barcelona Statement for Metropolitan Areas. And basically it was a claim for the international institutions that the metropolitan level has to do with the Sustainable Development Goals and the global agendas. It's an important level that is not recognized until now. It's an important level that need enough resources to achieve these goals. And what we call it's metropolitan solutions. It's a normal way to say that we have to make possible public policies from different levels of administration with multi-dimensional. We understand that the one policy is not only with one only proposal. The metropolitan solutions are economical, at the same time are urban planning, at the same time social, and this is connected with the different levels of administration to achieve the best result. I mean that the level of governance in the metropolitan areas is very different around the world. In fact, the UN Habitat explained that only 12%, 15%, the numbers is not, 50% of all the metropolitan areas have some level of governance. And this is another key element. How can we work with another municipalities, with another levels of administration, without compete with them, but collaborate with them? And this means that we should provide to our citizens about the public transportation, for example, the waste treatment, very important issue. For example, the keep of the green areas or the blue areas, the sea, the beaches, the lakes, and so on. And this is not possible at all without this collaboration between different levels of administration. So, well, I finish my intervention here, but the final message is that without fair recognition of the metropolitan level, we cannot probably reach the goals of global agendas, because this means a very radical change in our behavior, not only in our behavior as individuals, but the behavior of the public administration, the national governments, the local governments, and this is a huge challenge that we can face it. Thank you.
Thank you, Oriol. So we understand that we need a systemic approach. All these challenges and all these area of crisis need a level that allow us to put all together in a system. So Paris and France is a matter of fact. And I would like to ask Eric Huybrechts, Institut Paris Reason, in which way, we spoke at the beginning that in some case institutions can fragilize our territory, in particular if we don't have a coordination among the different administrative levels. So from the point of view of your city, but also of your institution, how do you think that metropolitan agency can really produce this system, this coordination, to define in particular which are the priority and which are the elements in which we have to, also I would like to remember that the topic of MARUF is something that connects also the nature with the metropolitan city. So is it possible that the Metropolitan Agency can really identify the priority, the much more challenge vulnerabilities of our territory and produce this coordination? In which way you are able to convince the state, but also the municipalities, that they have to work together?
To begin, just I want to focus on the extraordinary imagination of our politicians to make it more complicated. This is true. In Paris region, we have 7 levels of administrative bodies. Greater Paris metropolis is not a metropolis, it's just a dense area of Paris region. So what we say, the metropolis of Paris is the region, it's not the metropolis of Greater Paris. So we have the state government. I don't speak about Europe. We have the region. We have Greater Paris. We have 64 union of municipalities. We have 1,268 municipalities, and we have arrondissement and other bodies. We have, so the metropolitan approach is very difficult in that context. And so we have to manage the different services, for example, for solid waste, wastewater, etc. We have 700 syndicates of municipalities, union of municipalities for that. 700. And so it is totally crazy. So you imagine the challenge that we have. The governance is different for each sectors. We have not the same governance for transportation, for solid waste, for water management, or for economic development, or for environment. In fact, in a metropolitan area, you have different governance. And so when we speak about the governance for a metropolitan area, we speak on what? Is there any supra-governance system? No, there is no supra-governance system. There is different governance systems that should find a way to connect together. So this is the reality of the metropolis. So this is a big challenge for a lot of part of the world, because we are in the century of the metropolis, as it was said this morning. This is true. 1/3 of the urban of the population of the world, 1/3 of the population of the world is living in municipalities. Half of the 2/3 of the urban dwellers in the world are living in metropolitan areas. And so this is our key challenge today, is to manage these bodies, which is plurial. We say we need horizontal and vertical coordination, but this is a theory. But in fact, when you see each sector, each topic, you have different merits. And so the other thing is that the metropolis is also, you speak de-risking, we speak the risk is related to the hazard and the vulnerability of the territories. So we work a lot to analyze the vulnerability. And so this is the term, and to find solution to reduce the vulnerability. So we can speak of de-risking or the vulnerability. So it is something similar, but how to find solution. I like the word that was used by Rafa when he say we need to be more flexible, because we know that we go from what you say, we go from crisis to crisis, and that's what you say. In fact, the crisis is permanent, but in different manner. COVID was a big surprise with extraordinary solutions. But we have flooding somewhere, and each flood is totally different. Because the weather, the soil, it was frozen in 1910 in Paris, so it's totally different than the flooding that we have 2 years ago in Paris region. And so, we discovered new vulnerabilities in each crisis, and new ways to find solutions. But what we need is to be more proactive. And we know to reduce vulnerability, there is 2 ways. It is planning and managing the crisis itself. The more you are reactive just before the crisis to inform the population that a big flooding will happen, for example, because of rain, the most you are proactive just before and during the crisis, the most you reduce the demolition, the most you reduce the risk for the death or the risk for people. So this is one part of the work. The other part is planning. That is more normal. But planning with different crises, and we can say, because crises are more frequent than before, we are living in permanent crisis in different pattern, different way. And so the question to be flexible, one part of the solution to be more flexible is to have a technical body which is able to provide information in daytime, in good time when the data exists, to be able to connect all this analysis, information, and forecast to inform the politician on what happened and how to react when the crisis is coming, how to support and to reduce the risk, the vulnerability of the territories for the different crises that we have in mind today. But of course, the future will be different. So this is what we can do. And this is the role of the planning agency like IPA here in Istanbul, APR, Institut Paris-Région in Paris, RPA, Regional Planning Association in New York, etc., etc., or Bruxelles Perspective, or AMB has several, because your politicians create different technical bodies for planning. So this is their complexity. In Paris, we have Institut Paris-Région, which is in charge of that. So we are the largest planning agency in the world, and the idea of a planning agency is to be first to be a permanent observatory. And what is important is that governance will change from time to time. We were created in 1960, and today the governance system in Paris is totally different than in 1960, where the state government was very powerful and managed the region. Today we have an elected body with the region, with a lot of elected body inside, and with Greater Paris Metropolis inside. And so the governance is totally different than before, but we still exist. And we are the trustee, this is the second term. We are not only an observatory, we are the trustee partner of the politicians to prepare decisions, to prepare policies and territorial strategies in all fields, in housing, in biodiversity, in environment, in economic development, in transportation, etc. All fields like IPA. And to take decisions with good knowledge. This is truly important. So it's not academic, it is policy making. So we are producing the documents. We are producing the master plan at the regional scale or at the Paris metropolis scale, etc. We are producing also the policy in the different fields, housing, transportation, etc. So a trusted partner, but we're also a lab, like Politecnico, who are also producing innovation. So this is, and we are organizing a lot of workshops with different partners from France and other countries. But we also, and this is very different than the consultancies, we are a hub. So we are, a planning agency cannot solve all the problems alone. So it is part of an ecosystem. It is a hub in an ecosystem. So in close relation with all the expertise that it is in the territory and connected with the metro hub of UN Habitat, Metropolis, Matrix, etc. All these organizations working at the metropolitan scale. So a hub. And the last point, which is really important, and to be flexible is related to that, we are also an open data resource. We have the regional library. It is here on planning and regional issues. But it is we organize a lot of conferences, workshops, seminars open to the public and training, and to share the knowledge and to receive from the different partners to know their feeling about the situation, because expertise is not enough. Data is not enough because there is a lot of fake data. We need expertise to make it correct, to make it significant. But expertise is not enough because because experts have their own vision, their own methods, and so I will finish. So the expert should confront his results with the stakeholders, with all the actors. So we're working with them permanently, and we share the results, not as a final result, but to share the result to see if is it relevant what we say. This is a new idea. Do you think this is a good idea, or it is really representing what your living today in the society. So this is, the ecosystem is truly important. It is a reason why planning agencies are very important elements to support the governance. Governance, of course, exists, but it should be strengthened. But the technical body, like IPA for Istanbul or Marmara, is a very important tool. It's the reason why during Habitat 3 conference last week, we just we create the global network of planning agency, which is Metropolitan Territorial Planning Agencies, and to put all together and to share experience of the different planning agencies worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. Knowledge and this coordination system, you see, also is needed not only when we speak about the different governance level, but also between the different stakeholders. We used to say that the metropolitan discipline is not something the academy can figure out alone, because probably academy knows how to start, but the project is in the hand of the civil society and civil servant and policy maker. I would like to introduce Carmine Pacente from the... It's open? Right now, yes, it's open. I would like to introduce Carmine Pacente from the Città Metropolitana di Milano. In Italy, we know that probably we have some problem regarding the relevance of the metropolitan level, but we know that the Città Metropolitana di Milano produced a territorial plan quite innovative, trying to put together economy and environment and try to figure out a system of ecosystem services that also can communicate the relevance of the environment and the relevance to conceive the territory as a system. And so try to put together the different authority using the territory, the environment, and the water in particular as a level, as a driver to convince the national level and the municipal level that we have to start to work together. And I would like to ask Carmine Pacente, which kind of novel tools the Città Metropolitana di Milano put in place, try to, today probably I didn't sign, but it was the president of MARUF that spoke about the incentive. We try to define some also economic and financial incentive to convince the different levels to go together. So please, the floor is for you.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here. So thank you to Antonella and the other colleagues that invited me. It's a pleasure because some years ago I wrote also a book on the metropolitan areas in the European perspectives with a comparison among Barcelona, Vienna, Milan, Lyon, Stuttgart, and other important metropolitan cities and metropolitan authorities, to be specific, in the European Union. But today in Italy, and I'd like to give you some information about the situation in Italy because I think that the framework is really important. The situation is this. The metropolitan areas have an important territorial relevance, but recognized also by the economic actors, and not by the institutional authorities. This is the evidence. This is the reality. Because their competencies, as I wrote in the slide, are not so clear, and this is the point, in my opinion, they didn't receive adequate resources funds from the national government and from the regional government. Because, and I give you my opinion, there is a competition between the metropolitan authority and the region, for example. You can imagine the Lombardy without Milan. You can imagine the Baden-Württemberg without Stuttgart, or the Catalonia without Barcelona, or the Ile-de-France without Paris. It's not possible. So if you create, it's difficult because there is a competition between the urban, the metropolitan dimension, with an economic relevance, knowledge relevance, and the small urban areas and the rural areas all inside. And if you elect directly the president of the metropolitan area of Milan, you give him an important power in the framework of the decision, political decision. So it's really difficult to complete this important institutional process. So since the 2015 in Italy, we have this situation, an important relevance recognized by economic actors, but not by law. We don't have financial sources. We have problems to close the budget every year. It's not acceptable, of course. But some numbers, because I think that it's important. In Milan, we have 133 municipalities with 3.2, 3.3 million people. The 40%, less than the 40% in Milan, in the municipality of Milan, and more than the 60% in the metropolitan area. But there is not a political and legislative framework. So the mayor of Milan, that by law is the mayor of the metropolitan area, is elected directly by the population of Milan, the citizens of Milan, but not from the citizens of the metropolitan area. So you can understand very well, I think, that there is an imbalance of attention, I can say. But, this is the context, in a few words, some instruments, some incentive that we used. I completely agree, I couldn't agree more with my colleague from Habitat. And with our job in the metropolitan city of Milan, we focused on the multi-level governance and European funds for realizing some important priorities, some strategic priorities. With the Association of Italian Municipalities, the region and the municipalities of the metropolitan area, we created important strategic projects, co-financed also by the European funds. But the managing authority for the European funds are the regions, of course, and not the metropolitan areas and not the municipalities. In Italy, there is a process since the 2014 for creating intermediate body in the municipality that can manage some European funds directly, more or less, but it depends not on the metropolitan area, but the capital of the metropolitan area. So another imbalance of power between the capital of the metropolitan area and all the other municipalities that have more than 60% of the population and of the economic relevance, as I said 5 minutes before. The goal of this project, we asked the co-finance to the region, of course, is to create a multi-level governance approach for realizing metropolitan priorities focused on environmental and social fields. So we used, for example, the European Social Fund, the European Regional Development Fund. We negotiated with the region the financial sources for the urban areas, for the RDF, and on the other end, some annex of the European Social Fund, because for this programming period 2021 and 2027, our region has more than 3.5 billion of European financial sources only from the cohesion policy. We can add the direct funds, the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, and so. Another instrument is the Metropolitan Territorial Plan. That is an innovative instrument that we have that plans and coordinates activities for the metropolitan territory, incorporating economic and ecological perspectives, define goals, governance direction with the principle of a sustainable use of soil and territorial equity. But the problem is always the same. We need sources for realizing these provisions. We need incentives. We need And we don't have, as I said before, so we have to ask to the region, we have to ask to the national government, we have to ask to the European Union, but we don't have sources, financial sources for realizing our priorities. And in my opinion, it's not acceptable. The Metropolitan Territorial Plan, I wrote the territorial and urban regeneration, sustainable development, climate change and mitigation, but you know. And in our country, in the European Union framework generally, because we are in Istanbul today, but in the European framework, we have an important advantage, in my opinion, because we don't have a problem of financial sources today. We have the cohesion policy, we have the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, we have the direct funds. In Italy, we have too much. We have too much financial sources for the next 7 years. And the problem is to spend, to invest these financial sources. More or less, I'm a member also of the Committee of the Regions in Brussels that represents the regional and the municipal governments. The numbers are these. Until 2020, in my country, in Italy, we had more or less 5 billion euro of European funds. From 2021 to 2027, we have 30 billion euro from the European funds to invest, to spend. With the same framework, with the same regions, with the same municipalities, with the same ministers. It's quite difficult. So we don't have this problem, but we have a problem that who decide? Metropolitan areas? No. The center decide. The member state, something the region, something the capital of the metropolitan area, but not this important creation recognized by the economic actors, but not recognized by the political actors and the institutional actors, as I said when I start. So, call for change. At the legislative level, we need a revision of role, function, responsibilities, and financial sources, competencies. But it depends on the central government. By law, we need this change. By law, by national law. And adequate funds and resources need to be allocated to carry out for our interest, of course. There is a process in Italy, in the national parliament now, for a revision of these criteria, but the last news were not so happy for the future of provinces and metropolitan areas. But all together, with this organization, with the European institution, in our case, of course, with the national government, with the member of the parliament that think the same things, and with the regional actors, we have to stress, because we need a big, important reform. Without the reform, it's really difficult to realize this framework. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Carmine. Can you hear me? Yes. So I think that Houston, we have a problem. And I would like to return back to something that Valeria said, scale and space matter. So probably instead to wait for some governance reform, we have to act locally, and we have to try to define something that some of my colleagues name governance implementation. So working at the local level, working with project rooted into the local dimension, trying to start this work together with different level of the governance. So I would like to introduce Yücesoy from Istanbul Technical University. Sometimes we hear some critique regarding the university and the academic approach. Okay, sometimes it's a correct critique, but in other cases, I think that innovation has to be fostered by research. So it's a matter of fact that also university matter. We heard about Hatice, the problem of Istanbul, very fragile territory with a lot of sensitivity and in particular exposure. So I would like to ask you if this idea of anti-fragility, flexibility, open system can really help us to find solution, strategy to implement the innovation that we try and the project and the solution that as academy we can figure out. So the floor is for you.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm very happy to be a part of this discussion today. May I also show some, let's say, some of my presentation? Yes, thank you very much. Well, areas of knowledge, creative, and service workers. So, since 1990s, Istanbul is changing a lot. I have been living in Istanbul since 2004, and it's tremendous. Since 2008, I have been doing some research on Istanbul, and it really changed again and again. And just to give you some figures, just to maybe, oh, sorry, this is not the case, but perhaps I would go back. It doesn't work anyways. Oops, to there. Okay, no problem. So when we say Istanbul, we talk about 16 million residents plus 4-5 million city users. So we have, every day almost 20 million people live in this city somehow. Maybe they are not residents all, but they live. The city covers 1,800 kilometers square. And the gross density is said to be 3,000, but in some districts, this density reaches to 96.5 thousand persons per kilometer square. And in some districts, it is only 6. So there is a huge imbalance. And there are, besides residents, there are 400,000 commercial establishments in Istanbul. This is the 3rd largest chamber of commerce of the world. And roughly 10% of them are foreign, so including migrants as well. And they are all producing 40% of Turkey's GDP. So when we say institutions, we also say private companies, especially in Istanbul. I think it is quite important. So there are, of course, changes in the governance processes in Turkey. And since 2008, there was a kind of gradual decentralization and, let's say, governance process happened. But by the 2012, there was a change of the law for disaster law and urban renewal, and everything has also started to kind of defined again. And in 2012, we had a new legislation for metropolitan areas. And although Istanbul had a long history with the metropolitan government, probably my colleague from IPA would tell more about it, but there was, every time there was this kind of new formations of governance again and again, and this two-tiered centrality for both central government and the metropolitan areas had changed, because other cities in Turkey, they became metropolitan areas and metropolitan municipalities. We have at this moment 31 metropolitan areas in Turkey, but of course the biggest one is Istanbul. So, what happens in a city of Istanbul is that, of course, when we talk about Istanbul, we talk about 1980s monsters industrial city. I see Antonella smiling, yes. And the city of squatters, shared taxis, dolmuş, and vendors, street vendors. And this city, starting from 2000, has started to change, and yeah, it is kind of going global. And at that time, there was a flux of migrants from rural to urban, mainly from within the nation state. And after that, we started to see, I cannot really move this, but time to time it works, but not at this moment. Anyways, oops, yeah. I don't know, so I cannot do it. Sorry. Well, anyways, it doesn't matter. But this kind of squatters, shared taxis, and the vendor city has changed, and there was a tremendous, let's say, implosion, urban implosion we call it. And after 1990s, there was a kind of trend called Istanbul going global. The migration trend has changed. This is what Richard Florida describes as the creative class arrived to Istanbul. And after that, 10 years later, in 2010, we had a new migration, let's say, wave from the international migration, well, around the country because of the political crisis. I think you know the story. So what happened in the urban scale is that there is a kind of strong for densification and very scattered, let's say, local municipalities. Yes, there's a metropolitan government, but they may belong to different parties, and there was a quite scattered and fragile system, very difficult to monitor the urban sprawl, and very difficult to monitor the general, let's say, urban growth of the city. Do you mind? Yes, thank you very much. So, and lately we had a new thing because the density, this picture shows very well, in my opinion, the densification in the central areas of Istanbul. Of course, there can be several talks about it as well. But local governments who found it very difficult to achieve a kind of urban development, or who try to solve the housing problem, they started to increase the development rights because there is no land well around Istanbul, and either let's say ruling party or opposition party, doesn't matter. There was a kind of huge increase in terms of densities, and it is a coalition in that sense that everything has started to increase. Yes, please, thank you very much. Yeah, and at this moment, we have a quite fragile housing situation. At this moment, we have a huge problem with the, especially after the pandemic, we have a huge problem with the inflation, as you know very well. And there is this deterritorialization and re-territorialization happening at the same time. And it had a profound effect on the urban areas. There is this capital is arriving, Istanbul, of course, with the help of central and local governments. As I said, ruling or opposition doesn't matter. Large-scale, widespread urban transformation projects are happening, and they kind of changing the cityscape, and a new ways of seeing the administrative boundaries, creating linkages with the civil society is highly needed, as we always talk. Promoting new ways of accommodating citizens with the help of technological advancements is kind of important. And we believe metropolitan literacy is kind of should be developing within the governance itself, because maybe it is, yeah, we have some metropolitan government in Istanbul, but at this moment it is too large, and there are other yeah, processes happening as well. So we need to open channels for bottom up, middle down, up, bottom, whatever, everything, you know, coming together. And they're kind of referring to the first presentation. I think a relational, multiscalar, transscalar approaches are definitely needed. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eda. Thank you very much. So it seems that there is a sort of ghost that is flying on the metropolitan dimension and this economy. And I would like to remind the etymology. Economy is oikonomia, so something that must be related to the way in which we inhabit our territory. But looking at that image, it seems that it's only finance. So something that can be bankable. And a city that is reaching a dimension that probably is not managing this place. So I would like to ask Fioralba Vela from Vlora University, Albania. Fioralba was for a business school. So we are in the center of the problem. And Albania is a small country with a lot of issues. So we invite Fioralba because we think that the Balkan area it's super important for Europe, but for the interior Western countries, it's a sort of belly bottom of the relationship between East and West. And what do you think that Albania and your problem can teach us? And in which way? I was really interested in what Hatice said. Even though we are thinking at a metropolitan scale, we have to work thinking about the risk, about public space to host the people that probably have to suffer the earthquake, the natural hazard. We have to think about food security. That will be a problem if the metropolis is too huge as is not able to be rooted into the valley and into the food production. In 2015, we have to feed the planet as our expo. So economic matter in terms of to help us to inhabit our territory and to work defining a sort of real sustainability between the different scale. From the scale of Albania, which is your lesson? Thank you.
Thank you, Antonella, for inviting me and to all the participants in this special session. I would like to begin my discussion in making a little comparison between the Albania of yesterday and the Albania of today. We have moved from a statal economic system and an isolated country which had like very structured cities with the same model of development. You could go in Vlora, in Elbasan, in Durrës, in different cities of Albania, and you'd find the same structure because all the people used to live in the same way. They had this kind of living model, but now we, after the 90s, Albania has moved toward a new model of development and also is facing a lot of challenges in the same time because all the problems that were raised by the outstanding colleagues that are present here in this special session are faced by Albania. In this moment, in Tirana especially, which is a metropolitan area, but metropolitan not by means of, let's say, structuring or decision-making models, but because of its development that has covered a lot of territorial areas in the central part of it and also in the southern part. There is a huge problem of planning because even the strategies of urban development are predicting what is going to happen till the 2030s, but not in, let's say, in a long-term kind of, let's say, vision of development. So avoiding a lot of actual and future problems that are relating to the urbanization of rural areas and the congestion of this part of Albania, creating a lot of problems for waste management, public transportation, infrastructure, unplanned infrastructure investments that you use money now for, let's say, all these projects, but then after 5 or 10 years, it will happen a change in the planning and also development process, so losing all the efforts that have been done during all this period. So this is kind of the cultural governance in Albania, because as I said before, it's a challenge to move from one model to another. So the governance capacity building is also a great problem because there is a problem of centralizing model of decision making. Although we are proclaiming that we are a democratic country, there is, let's say, decision making that includes all the levels of the state, local governance, and also the participation of the local communities, which are part of the resilient cities. We have had a culture of local community participation as a ex-communist, let's say, government. But now we are losing this kind of culture, and exactly now it's the greatest need for this local community's participation in the decision-making process, because it is related with their quality of life. A lot of problems related to the catastrophic, let's say, impact of natural disasters. In the 2019, Albania faced a very hard earthquake, and it destroyed a lot of buildings. And as the head of the Marmara municipality said at the opening session of this forum, the earthquake is not a problem in itself, but it's a problem of the buildings. Maybe this, let's say, disaster opened the problem to the decision-making body, because it has not been a very controlled process. So we have built years after years, but we have not had the right control mechanisms of urbanization and also of the, let's say, building materials and projecting all these buildings and all the, let's say, infrastructure and superstructure that has to be built in the areas where all this urban development is happening. Also, there is a disbalance between different areas because of this, let's say, disbalanced urban development. There are areas where I have to say there are schools with 2 or 3 children in it. Yes, because the people are going and living abroad, and now people from other countries which has not the same culture as us are entering Albania in order to feed the businesses that need labor force. And this is another challenge from the point of view of urban development and the fragility as a concept, because we have to raise awareness that of the inhabitants of Albania in order to let's say, be part of this development in the right way, not only by participating, but also by behaving as a responsible citizen. Thank you very much.
just a tweet. I think metropolitan literacy is a very good way to say that we need something like that. We have to have a vision, we have to understand, we have to act, we have to see and to react. And I think this is a very good message, and we can build, as Antonella said, in this Metro Hub, this metropolitan literacy we would like to contribute to.
Thank you. A couple of tweets. The first is we really need conceptual approaches, but we overall need tools and solutions to implement those conceptual approaches. No, I like your intervention because you, in other words, say the difference between planning and implementing is financing, but also technical capacity. So that is what we want with the Metro Hub, establishing a Metro Hub center in the Milano Politecnico, have more technical capacities to implement all these new approaches and to really boost the global agenda's implementation, but also to enhancing UN habitat capacity. And let me be clear again with this. It is supposed for United Nations to work in a tandem between the mandates that member states give us and the technical capacity that we have to implement those mandates. But there is not like that. In the reality, we have strong mandates, but limited technical capacities and financial capacities to implement those goals. We cannot implement global goals alone. So we really need your help, all of you, I mean, not only Milano Politecnico, but all of you to implement those commitments to avoid more people to be suffering. And that is one of the principal aims of the center, no? To have more capacity to really link high quality research, high quality literature, high quality project design with solutions, with contextual, with territorial solutions. Of course, this will be a physically localized center. I mean, this will be a center localized physically in Milan, but this will be a global center in their purpose and its approach and scope. No, so we really want to connect not only geographies, but also multi-stakeholders and multiple level of government. No, and the last one. This will be only the first of the centers that we want to implement, because we are aware and we realize that there are a lot of cities needing solutions. We cannot rely or rest only in one partner and in one center, but we are also discussing the same strategy with Barcelona, with Paris, and with others in other regions, not only in Europe, also in Asia, for instance, in Seoul, in Mexico, in Latin America. My colleague Maria here is leading a great strategy there to have a center on supranational metropolises, because also all the needs of metropolis are different. It's not the same to compare and to design solution for a megacity like Istanbul or like Paris, or for an intermediate metropolis which is graduating from above to over 5 million like Barcelona, or Milan with 3 million, or even Tirana, a metropolis of less than 1 million, which doesn't have any kind of metropolitan governance scheme, but that needed. No? So this is the first of a series of centers that we need to implement. We really thank to Milano Politecnico and the city of Milan to having us, to hosting us, and we invite you, from UN Habitat, we invite you, all of you, to participate at this strategy, to contact Antonella, Valeria, but not only them, you can also contact us, you can also contact your local administration in order to contribute. We cannot implement global agendas without all your help. Thank you. Sorry for it.
A tweet.
What can I say? I think the metropolises have the same problems, similar problems, I think. That was a very helpful thing to know. But I think we have another problem with our issues, so we don't have time. We need time for everything we do. And we have to do things so fast, but in quality. So I think that was the question that we didn't talk about, but we need time and quality as well. So how can we solve these problems in
It's a challenge.
a faster way, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Oriol?
Very brief, just highlight an element that for me it's important, and maybe it's not enough said in this idea of to build an anti-fragility model, is the involvement of the citizenship and the key actors. That Clemens talk about this, but I think that it's very important to build this model, the holistic model of anti-fragility in the metropolitan territories.
Thank you. Eric?
Just to say that we're focusing on two different topics. The first one is the megacities, because we consider that there is different issues in metropolitan areas. Just to clarify, a metropolitan area is the economic basin and the mobility basin. That it's covering urban and rural areas. So Paris is very specific. Paris region is the metropolis, a functional urban area, in fact. So it's different in different places. But just to say that we are focusing on megacities, the more of 10 million inhabitants, because we're considering that it is hyper complex and needs specific tools. And so we will work with Beijing, New York, I hope Istanbul and other cities or Buenos Aires to work together and to share experience and instruments to help decision makers to manage these mega cities. This is the first point. The second point is we are focusing on the metropolitan heritage. So we create the Eritopolis Society. There will be an event on Friday afternoon organized for Eritopolis to present what is it. Just to say that the metropolis is our legacy for the next generation. It is the main artifact of this century. And so the way we are taking this into account and the feeling of ownership of, it's not only the economic sector, it is based on the economic approach, the functional urban area, it is the economic basin. But the people in the metropolis are not aware about the metropolis. So this feeling of this is their heritage, they are in this system, in this territorial system, and the way the politicians take decision to make it better, to improve the quality of the heritage for the next generation is crucial. So we are focusing on these two topics.
Thank you. Carmine?
Thank you very much. I couldn't agree more with my colleague, because I think that we have to defend the framework of the principles of the cohesion policy, the bottom-up approach, the community-led local development and the participation of citizens, the importance of the functional areas, but we have to strengthen also the technical, institutional, and administrative capacity of the local government, of the local institution, because without this capacity, we don't realize the priorities, the important priorities that we discussed before. So thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
I think that we can work all together because,
I think so.
yeah, thank you very much.
Eda?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, to me, I think this fragility and the anti-fragility can be in a pendulum, so that it won't go to extremes. So as long as we can move in different sectors, in different actors within the city, so that we can achieve a kind of a relational, something that a livable kind of, let's say, normal state of art. So in that sense, I think it's important to collaborate, to learn more. And secondly, in Turkey, I would like to extend, there is an interesting urbanization trend. We are metropolitanization, metropolitanizing, or I couldn't say it, metropolitanizing country, so that it is people are moving from middle cities to metropolitan areas, not to large cities. They are going to metropolitan areas directly, and we have very small, tiny cities around them. So it is a kind of, it creates a huge tension. So perhaps this kind of approaches can foster to deal with these problems as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eda. Fioralba?
I would say that for Albania, it's a luck that all these problems are being faced by other countries and cities before. So in the way of development that we are facing now, it's very important to get a real and concrete feedback from what has been done right and wrong in order to achieve the right goals at the right moment and with a long-term positive effect.
Grazie,
Thank you.
Fioralba. Thank you to everybody, and thank you to our guests. Thank you very much.